What's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of Show Me the Tape. And my boy Adam, we're coming back once again. It's been a minute, but it's good to see you once again.
It's good to see you too, brother. We took a little hiatus because we're diving deeper into the draft and whatnot. But we're back and we got no shortage of things to talk about. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. To come away with the draft, there is at least one person I actually interviewed that just got signed by the Niners as an undrafted free agent, but we'll get to that later.
There we go.
But yeah, the first round, the day two, the day three, they become a little interesting. But like they all say, it's a crapshoot. You don't know what's a short date. So going into the first round, what was your thoughts when they selected Ricky Pearsall? It's like,
yeah. I was on the edge of my seat like it was the Super Bowl all over again. Just like putting in all that work to scout all those players. I scouted 225 players in total. I wish I could have did more. We'll probably do it more next year, but that's a lot of guys to look at, a lot of tape, a lot of minutes, a lot of hours of film watching. And so the anticipation, it was fun, like to see that anticipation all build up and then come up in that moment. I was on edge. You can ask my roommates at my house. We were watching the draft, and I was kind of like, oh my goodness, what are they going to do here? Are they going to go tackle? Are they going to go D lineman? Are they going to go receiver? What are they going to do? And I said out loud before they picked who they picked, I said, surprise me, like get me fired up, like do something crazy. And wouldn't you know it, CG, they did the craziest thing not the craziest thing they could have done, but it was pretty nuts. Like nobody saw Pearsall getting picked. I'll be honest, when I saw his tape, like scouting him, I was like, this dude can play. They're like, I as a college recruiter myself, I'm the director of recruiting at Laney College for those who don't know. So my job is literally to watch tape. I get paid to do, and I know a dog when I see one. I know a dude who's got bad intentions on a football field. Ricky Pearsall is that dude. Like he is, you could just tell he eats, breathes, sleeps football. You can tell in the way he plays that he is you ask a coach, they'll just say that guy's a football player. Well, what does that mean? It means he plays physical. He plays tough. He plays fearlessly. You could tell this is everything to him, right? But more specifically, what makes Ricky Pearsall great is his speed. He's got the quicks. He's got the jump cut. He's almost like a receiver, like with the ball in his hands that moves a little similar to a running back with that jump cut. A lot of receivers, they got that straight line speed, CG, but they don't got the east and west, right? They can go north and south. Like I would say Troy Franklin is one of those guys, right, who can go north and south, but can he shimmy and shake and make somebody miss and go east and west? And I think another thing that kind of signals to you that he's an incredible football player is just the sheer amount of ways that Florida used him, right? You and I both know if you're the best player on your team, the head coach and the offensive staff and the whole staff is going to find ways to get you touches. Well, they were getting touches. He was getting touches as a receiver. They were doing end arounds, reverses with him. They were getting him touches in the punt return, right? And he was making some noise there. So obviously the 49ers have themselves a dynamic football player who is ready to go. He's polished. The sneaky thing that I've loved hearing about him is he's got really good hands. He catches everything. And that is a prerequisite for any 49ers receiver. But
oh yeah.
That's those were my thoughts. And CG, I want to hear from you, man. What'd you think?
It was a surprise pick, but like you said, he's a very reliable target, which means he'll catch any ball. So it's like he's a sure-handed guy. He runs a 4.4 speed, so that's above average speed for most guys. He does everything that you ask him to do. He can do the blocking if he's asked to. Like you said, he was the best player at Florida because on their offense, that was pretty much their weapon. The quarterback, whoever was the quarterback, that's who he was catching the ball with. So it wasn't like he could have probably had more yards if it was a better quarterback play or better offensive line or something over there. But he made the most of his opportunities. But It did surprise me. I just wasn't sure about this pick. I said, man, if that's the case, we could have got him later, but I guess not. Maybe they had him ranked a little bit higher. So come to find out, what really stood out was C.J. Stroud was upset about this pick. He says, did they just pick this guy? He says, I wanted him, or something like that. He kind of seemed surprised. Maybe the Texans would have got him. Who knows?
Might have, but that
Maybe
should tell you all
Carolina.
you need to know. Like when the reaction around the league, I mean, you heard Steve Smith calling this dude a dog. You hear C.J. Stroud, being upset that the Texans didn't get him. So, like, what are we doing listening to people who don't play football and never coach? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? Like, if these people are negative about the pick and think, oh, I don't know if he's going to work out. Well, everybody who plays the game thinks it's going to work out. Coaches seem to think it's going to work out. And one thing we would know about the Niners, and it's pasted right inside their locker room door when you go in the locker room, they don't let outside noise affect how they evaluate the game or play the game. Right. So like I think they only had, correct me if I'm wrong, CJ, they only had like 23, 24 guys rated as given first round grades in the entire draft. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I thought I heard, but it's not surprising, right? Like, I think the challenge for us as so-called analysts is we want to give guys first round grades. We want to find that we think that there is a Hall of Famer in every draft. There's multiple Hall of Famers in every draft. When that's not the case, theoretically, an entire draft could be a zero, right? There's nothing that guarantees any of these guys are going to be any good, right?
Yeah.
So I think I know there's no way they're NFL coaches. They don't have this. I know they have a specific framework for evaluating any position, right? They're going to have certain boxes they personally want to check off that are different from, let's say, the Seahawks or the Cardinals. Like what their receiver coaches are looking for, I think is going to be a little bit different than what the Niners are looking for. With the Niners, you know that they're going to want a receiver who is polished, can run routes over the middle, and the hands. You like CG last playoffs, man. Where was any Niners receiver dropping footballs that they should have caught?
They should have caught some of them. Yeah, there was quite a few of them.
Not many though, right? Like you maybe here or there, but look at the Lions, right? We agree the Lions have a pretty solid receiving core led by Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he's now a $30 million guy. Well, Amon-Ra St. Brown dropped footballs when it mattered most, right?
But he made most of his money in the regular season.
Yeah. But it's I think that's what separates the Super Bowl winning cores. Well, I mean, unless you have Pat Mahomes, but the teams that win games in those critical moments are the teams that have receivers with elite hands. It's not good hands. Every receiver in the entire NFL has good hands, but are you shooting a 99% clip, something high 90s when you're catching the football, right? I really think the Niners value greatly. Like they will pass on a guy who, if there's a question about your hands, the Niners are not going to pick you.
They're just going to pass on you like it's nothing.
Yeah, you could be built like AJ Brown or Terrell Owens. You could run like him. You could do all these things. But if at the end of the day, you are not a reliable pass catching target, because guess what? What is the Niners offense? Quick game, slants,
reliable,
things like that, where you need to catch the ball not only on time, but in traffic, right? Do you have the stones to catch the ball in traffic, right? That's the other big difference between like the Niners receiving core and other teams receiving core. So
I think
Ricky checks those boxes.
I think route run is what they value the most, but if they wanted to get somebody exactly the same, they could have got Jen McMillan in the third round, but who am I to judge, But
yeah.
This one pick kind of stood out to me. We haven't drafted a cornerback in quite a long time, like in the highest spots since Shawntae Spencer. But this one stood out to me.
Shawntae Spencer. Oh man, now you're really knocking the cobwebs now.
It's been that long since we drafted a corner that high.
Going hard now. Shawntae Spencer.
Yeah, it's been that long since we got a cornerback in the second round. But this guy has I wanted to get TJ Tampa, but first of all, I saw what Ronaldo Green can do, and that's something you can coach with. But Like, what's your thoughts of this guy? This guy from Florida State is just outstanding.
Yeah, he was a little bit of a surprise, but I think that I can only be honest, right? Of all the position groups I had to evaluate in the draft, and unless you got a hookup with a college coach who's got a hookup with another college coach to get like college film, complete game film, I can tell you this. This is one thing I can tell the listeners, right? Anybody listen. Unless you look at every single play, and can I raise the volume here? Like,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, theoretically, I'm just saying, like, let everybody listen right now and listen to what I'm saying, because it is the word, it's gospel.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you do not look at every single play from an entire game film, you don't know who that player is. And I'm speaking as somebody, former linebacker coach, right? I coach multiple all-conference. I coach the all-conference guys. I coach the defensive player of the year in the state of California. If you don't watch every single snap, you don't really have a heartbeat on who that player is, because things could get lost in the weeds. For example, and this is my gripe with NFL draft Twitter, right? Listen, I ain't a hateful dude. I ain't right. But like, it's my cautionary tale. Any dude can look like a dang superstar on one play. Any dude. You can make any dude look like a Hall of Famer on one play, right? But who are they on every play? And that's where Renardo Green comes into play. Is if you look at his complete game film, you can see this dude is sticky. And if you watch that coach's film, his movement, and if you watch corners, like I've watched corners over the years, he has a special reaction time, right? He's not afraid to use his hands at the line of scrimmage, which is something I am a stickler for. I don't mess with corners who are not trying to use their hands at the line of scrimmage. If I don't care how quick and fast you are, if you are giving up routes on air every single rep, not here, not now, not ever, right? Like, you're not playing for me. I'm sorry. And that's what he does. You also have to have a psycho, like you have to have such a mentality to play corner at an elite level, because there's a lot of pressure, right? Especially depends on the scheme. But he's playing man more than almost any corner in college football. So clearly Florida State, against the best competition in college football, was like, Renardo Green, get on their best player. You do the rest, brother. You got that cat. That's who you're shouting the whole defense. So I think when you factor in the fact that who he was on every play, the fact that he shut down Malik Nabers, I think he had 67 yards against him. But for Malik Nabers standards, you're shutting down Malik Nabers. Let's be honest. If you're holding him to that kind of clip. And when you turn on the tape and you see who he is playing and play out, this dude is exactly the kind of fit that the Niners want at corner. So it's maybe a surprise to us mere mortals who don't have access to this college football film, that we can't see them every play. But it ain't no surprise to the 49ers, and it's not going to be a surprise when he's going to be performing well for them come this season.
Yeah, like you said, his stickiness and his aggressiveness and coverage.
He's a dog, man.
Yeah, he doesn't give up on a play. And everybody talks about the LSU game. There's been quite a few other games he's played his best, So it's like, absolutely, there's a lot to like about him. His versatility too. He can play safety. That's what I've heard of.
Yeah, and so like the one last thing I'll say about him is that I don't know if I loved some of the corners in this draft as much as other people. Like Quinyon Mitchell, I think, is an elite movement guy. He's probably the most fit, like athletically gifted corner in the draft, right? He can move so well, whatnot. When I watched the tape against him, against Ohio State, I was not as impressed as I wanted to be. We'll put it that way. I don't think he's a bad player, but I don't know if he's the complete package, right? Especially when it comes to being physical, right? So he's got to answer those questions, and I hope he does. I hope he proves me wrong, but I wasn't blown away like I think the Eagles were, right? And then some of these other guys. That's the other thing. Like, if we learned anything in the playoffs, you got to be willing to get in there and get scrappy as a corner. You can't be making business decisions. I don't mess with corners who make business decisions. And if I'm looking at your tape in college and I see you are not wanting the smoke inside the box when there's clearly an opportunity for you to get your hat in there and do it, sorry, not for me. It's a pass.
Yeah. So that kind of gives us an idea of what he could be. So I think that opposite of Travarius Ward's spot is open. So even though we did sign Isaac Yadicum and Raquel said it, and it's going to be intriguing who's going to get that starting spot. So, but this one stood out. Everybody kept asking for an offensive line, and I think this one's the most underrated pick in my opinion. Like over 1,600 snaps without allowing a single sack. Pretty damn good. Very seasoned, very versatile. I mean, that's somebody that we're looking for that fits pretty well.
Yeah, I had Dominic. I liked Pooney's tape when I was evaluating him, and I was evaluating all the tackles. I'm very picky when it comes to tackles. There's certain things I look for. I can tell you the best kind of tackles are the ones that are technicians, but also are very physically gifted, both in strength, in length, and in athleticism, right? The ultimate, I mean, I think Lane Johnson is my prototype for a tackle, especially in pass blocking. Like, that dude is so dang long. He can move with anybody. Nobody's going to move him, right? Like, he's got maybe the best anchor in the NFL. Right. When it comes to Pooney, I think I liked his film. There's things I liked, but I do see the size a contributing factor to him playing on the interior line, which is what the Niners feel as well. And he looks more like a guard. Like, that's what I felt. Like, I watched his tape and it's like, this looks like a guard playing tackle. And I think he was doing a great job. Right. It's nothing against Pooney, but I think he's going to be he has a serious potential to be a Pro Bowl guard because he has great size for a guard. He's strong. He moves fairly well, right? I don't know if he tested that great on his 40 time, but he's pretty agile for his size, I would say. I think Troy Fautanu was like the ultimate, like, if I were to try to paint for the listeners to paint a picture of like what I want in an offensive lineman, Troy Fautanu's it. Like, he is the whole package for me. He's a technician. That guy moves so well. I'm going to tell you this, as somebody who coached linebackers for 6 years, the worst nightmare for a linebacker is linemen that are fast and strong. Because if they can climb to you quickly, that creates a lane quickly. Why does zone, like inside zone, why is it so popular? Because it's relatively simple, but also so effective, right? If an inside backer fails to recognize run right away, he's behind a step, and that guard climbing him 3 to 4 to 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, well, he's automatically reset the line of scrimmage and he's creating lanes, right? Yep. So I think Pooney has that potential, and that's why Fautanu, I had him so highly ranked. I put him down as a guard. I know he can play tackle, but I had him like as my top ranked guard, right? On my board, he was the guy, right? And I still think he'll probably be good at tackle, but the length, I think, against some of the elite pass rushers might be an issue, but we'll see. Pooney, love the pick. I think I would like to see him finish a little more violently is my thing. A lot of people buttering him up, very much so. He said all right things. There's a lot of good tape. I just want to see more of a finisher to his game. I want to see more of an aggressive finish. It feels like there's a little let up on the end, especially when he's asked to pull or to to go a certain distance. Like, I want to see a little bit more violence at the end of his game. Other than that, really love everything about it. I think he could work on his movement as well. That's kind of a given. But if he's going to play at guard, I think he's got all the tools he needs to be successful.
Yeah, I think that would be his projection. Worst case scenario, he would just replace Aaron Banks next year. So that would be the plan.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to have him move up to center also or other spots. So I think that's what they like about him because he can play
I think it'd be kind of cool at center. Like, that'd be kind of fun because he would like, it's like you could be just the average height and weight for a guard, but you could also be a 6'5" center
and just mollywop them people.
Yeah. It's like, it's kind of interesting on that respect because you would think that a tackle, theoretically moving a tackle to center or guard, they should be able to maul dudes. Like, but the bigger dudes are inside, right? So technically the center and the guard, like, they've got to move D tackles and nose tackles. Those dudes, what they do is pure strength, right? So I say that it's like a given, but I think that he certainly possesses strength enough, very much so, to be a great center. Just a matter of if he can handle, do it between the ears, IQ wise, which I'm sure he can.
Yeah, but I guess he's projected to be guard right now, but I think they're having possibilities for him to play center. So I think what makes it so good is his versatility. So I think this was a great value pick. And then this was pretty much my favorite pick so far,
Yeah.
I like this pick. The dog mentality. Doesn't miss tackles. Gets the job done.
Yeah. So my biggest gripe with Huff's game, Talanoa Hufanga, I love Huff, man. Listen, I've coached a lot of Polys, Samoans and Tongans, even Fijians, right? I've got so much love for Polys. It's not even crazy, right? But so I want him to do well. I'm like, I know that would mean for my guys. I coach a lot of Polys. I know they love Huff and I want to see him succeed because they see that in themselves, right? It's almost like they're representing their community. So I really want him to succeed for that reason. But if we're going to compare his movement skills in terms of fitting up in the box to somebody like Mustafa, it's not even close. Like, Mustafa in his elite movement skills, like, he almost moves like a running back. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, he does.
Running backs are the most elite at, like, they're, movement wise, with the east, west, north, south, the running backs are typically the most elite athletes in that respect on the football field. And that's what I look for in defensive players. Like, if you can move dynamically with speed, not just speed, but can you break down and tackle? Can you take proper angles? Are you smart on the football field, right? In terms of your tackling, that's what I look for. And this guy's lights out. He's a little undersized, but listen, at Laney College, we won a national championship with undersized safeties who played just like Malik in terms of style. And we won because of it. So I'm a full believer in, okay, maybe he's not a 6'1" safety, but if he's 5'11" and he moves like a corner and tackles like a safety, this is my guy. So, the question now is, can he go into camp, learn the system, be reliable? Because listen, Tashawn Gibson did not start all those games because he is such an elite, incredible athlete. No, because you don't make mistakes. Like, he back there because they trust him. So if they can quickly get his trust, or the 49ers can quickly trust Mustafa, he's going to be playing reps right away. If not, we're looking at maybe a next year type deal.
Well, it's a good spot to have him. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, I like what John Jay was talking about. We haven't even got to Kingston yet. But yeah, one thing about Malik Mustafa, he's a tone setter. Like, he just.
Yeah.
I think the closest comparison I see him is more like a Kirby Joseph.
Buda Baker.
Buda Baker's another one.
More of a Buda Baker type player.
Buda Baker. Yeah, Buda Baker's one of them dudes. But this was the one pick that caught me by surprise. I had a feeling we were going to go get this type of player because I thought this was smoke screens, but I guess we went one round later to get this guy. everybody was like seeing these reports like, oh, Niners are going to get this guy. They had a 3rd round grade on this kid. And I'm like thinking it better be smoke screens. And then it turns out, come to find out, we get him in the 4th round instead, but we trade our 2 5th round picks.
Yeah. Yeah. Isaac Guerrero, man. Yeah. So much hype about this kid leading up to the draft. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't as big on the hype train as some other people, right? Like, I think he's a great running back. Don't get me wrong, but I'm also was not high on the Niners drafting a running back here. This feels very much like a future, protecting their future at running back, right? Especially like if McCaffrey's the long-term guy, having that backup. And we all know that, behind McCaffrey, that room is going to fluctuate if you don't draft somebody. I feel bad for Mason a little bit because I think he's a great running back, man. I think he is exactly the type of running back the Niners should give the ball more to, but there's, I trust Kyle Shanahan there with those guys every day. So if he's not getting the ball as much, there's a reason for it. Guerendo's speed is elite. There's no doubt. If there's a crease, he's going to hit the home run ball and whatnot. I am very much more in what I look for is, again, the East and West. Top end speed. We're talking about a real deal all the way around running back. Yeah, we want that top end speed. We want to go break for 80-yard touchdowns every day and twice.
And that's what this guy does.
Yeah, and that's what he does. I didn't love his East and West movement, right? Like that wasn't like my favorite thing. So I was like, like he's fast, but can he, how much, shimmy and shake does he have? Kind of a deal. So I liked him. I just wasn't as crazy as everybody else, but I think they see him as another Raheem Mostert, right? Apparently he's really
That's what I was going to say. Just another Raheem Mostert.
And that worked out pretty good.
I think the difference with this pick is I think this is going to work out from the previous picks. I know some of the Niner fans have a little flashback, a little bit of the deja vu, like, oh yeah, we keep drafting these running backs early and then they're gone like the following season. Like Trey Sermon didn't work out because he couldn't pass block. He didn't seem to fit the system. You saw it with Ty Davis Price. Wasn't a fit. Didn't do good on pass blocking.
Yeah.
Joe Williams, same thing. So I think what I've seen from Guerendo is he is a solid pass blocker. He's a zone fit. He fits the zone perfect. You give him those type of runway holes, he's gone. He's got background as a receiver too, so that's a huge plus.
Yeah, that's a huge plus.
One thing I like about him, most running backs in college, if they have less wear and tear in college, they end up having a long NFL career. So if you have a lot of carries in college, I think your career is going to be cutting short a little bit.
For sure.
Some of them turn out okay, but I think the ones who got the less carries end up having a long career.
Yeah,
so I think Guerendo's got that trajectory. Even though everybody was talking about his 40-yard dash, I had to look into the film. He only had one career start, and that was in a bowl game against USC. He had 161 yards, 3 touchdowns.
If that only started once in his college
one career. Game, he was a backup.
Who started?
The other running back, I don't know how you say Jawar Taylor or something. Another.
Oh, right. No, right.
And in Wisconsin, he was playing behind Braylon Allen or something.
Yeah.
He was playing behind a lot of guys, but he was a career.
Braylon Allen's pretty good too.
So he had one opportunity, and he started at the bowl game and actually had one of his best games.
Yeah, I like it. Well, and listen, anybody who's watched any kind of offensive film can tell you that if you're a running back that cannot pass block, your stock tanks by like 33%, right? A 30-year stock goes down. You know why? Because you can't play on third downs, right? So, McCaffrey is an elite pass blocker. Even he whiffs sometimes, but I think Frank Gore was the best pass blocker in 49ers team history at running back by far and away. He would level dudes, right? Yeah. There are stories in training camp where he just put dudes on their butt 24/7 and just absolutely like mess people up. So if he can do that and he can hit some home run balls and, gain yards in between and have great vision, which I'm sure the Niners feel he does, there's no reason he can't succeed.
Well, I mean, like for Elijah Mitchell, I would need to be careful because if you're injured, I can see you out of that job. Like you said, Mason could be out because of his pass block, and they don't trust him as much. So I can see why. I think this one's probably going to be the surprising pick of them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people, because we kind of get upset with these running back picks, and I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't sure about it, but I had to go into the tape and watch more, and I had to say. It took me at least a full 24 hours to be sold because I had to watch and see what makes them fit. And I'm like, okay, so why did it didn't work out with those two other running backs? Because of the system and because they weren't quick and they didn't do good on pass blocking.
Right.
I think Kyle sees something in this kid, and I think he might pan out. I think he might be exactly a better version of what Elijah Mitchell was because of what he had his rookie year, but except that he's a 4th-round pick. Think of him as a 6th-round pick instead of a 4th round because we usually get those late round guys, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But see, for everybody else, like John Jay has every right to be critical about this pick because we're always taking running backs. Like why? Why? But maybe this might work out. So it took me a while to get it together and realize it. I had to be more ejected on this one, but I think this might work out okay.
I wasn't if I was in that Niners war room, like, again, my thought this year, you got to be committed to one thing or the other. I guess you can kind of have a mix of your approach to the draft because there's 2 schools of thought here. A draft that helps us win a Super Bowl and a draft that keeps us playing well for the long term. With Purdy, like if Jimmy G was still the quarterback, you're definitely looking at last dance draft where you're just trying to draft for guys that can make an impact now because you're going to have to start from scratch. Right.
Yeah.
But since Brock Purdy's the quarterback and he's just supposedly starting out here. Right. And hopefully he's the franchise guy for the next 10 years. We don't exactly have a great history of quarterbacks doing that after Joe Montana and Steve Young were here, but we're due for one, so hopefully I'm a full believer.
I'm hoping we're due to get our 6th Super Bowl, but it's just Kyle Shanahan's mental mistakes a little bit. But then what surprised me the most about this draft is we double on wide receivers, man. Like what the heck? What the heck?
I know that I see. This is a classic case of like I love the player, but it makes me like. Not question, but it makes me curious about what's going on in that 49ers receiver room because they've got other dudes like, the SMU kid, Danny Gray. They've got, who did they just re-sign? He had a catch in the Packers game that was crucial.
Oh, Chris Conley.
Yeah, Conley. They just re-signed Conley, and that we're not even talking about Jennings, Ayuk, and Debo. Right, like we haven't got those guys, and Brandon Ayuk can tell you like it's hard. He's just he's trying to fight to get touches. He's trying to fight to get touches. So like, how are these cats going to get touches? Is what I'm saying. But no, Jacob Cowing is a great player. I love the pick. He looks kind of like a Tank Dell type player in the way he moves. He's super
That's his
quick.
pro comp. That's his pro comp right there.
Yeah. He's. I mean, listen, and Tank Dell is a nasty, nasty player, right? Hopefully, he can stay healthy so we can showcase that a little bit more. But I'm all for Tank Dell types clones to be on the 49ers because those dudes are nasty.
Yeah, add some muscles at least.
Yeah. He's going to have to fill out a little bit. I hope he fills out a little bit, but I mean, it's not like it's uncommon for like 170-pound dudes at wide receiver to be in the NFL, right? So many light guys like
at least 175 would be fair. 175 or 180 would be okay.
Yeah. And somebody brought this up on the radio recently. I think it was Mike Silver who said, or it was either him or Greg Cosell who said, today's receivers body type wise are so very different from what it was 20 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago, you better be filled out like Anquan Bolden, Terrell Owens. You better be filled out like Hines Ward, right? None of those dudes are skinny, right? Those dudes are hard bodies, right?
They're
And
physical.
they're close to 190 to 200 pounds, right? Today, thanks to teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, who on the regular will draft and pick up guys who are like a $170, right? $175. Now there's that opportunity for that smaller, quicker receiver, especially, everybody's trying to find the next Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs certainly thought they got him in Worthy. That was like the most predictable draft pick maybe in NFL history. It was Xavier Worthy going.
I had the Chiefs getting him on my mock draft.
Everybody did. Because it's like, what about this guy does not scream Kansas City Chiefs, right?
It just does. And then Jacob Cowing does scream Kansas City Chiefs also.
Yeah, like Cowing is a guy who could see the Chiefs wanting to have picked up, right? So I love the player. So I can't hate on the pick, kind of a deal, right? I do think it's interesting. We didn't take any D linemen in the draft, right? Although I do think we have a need at D line, especially, maybe one more edge player and then another D tackle. So I think they do feel good about their D tackles. I don't know if I feel as good, to be honest, about our D line. I just feel like it needs a little more depth, right? Like just a little bit. I think at edge, we're going to be just fine with like, Leonard Floyd and, obviously Bosa, and then some guys after that, Yatur Gross-Matos, I think is a really good looking player as well. Right. So we certainly have dudes, but again, over the course of a season, we just lost Eric Armstead. Right. So again, the draft philosophy is tough to, I understand, but I wish they would address some other needs rather than going so in at wide receiver. That being said, love Jacob Cowing. Think he's going to be awesome. I don't know how much opportunity he's going to get. To be honest, maybe this is a move for maybe when Juwan Jennings leaves next year, like these receivers, when a lot of these receivers might be gone next year, maybe even Debo or BA, who knows? So we'll see.
Yeah, we didn't go defensive line or none of that, but I think they like what they see with the young guys. Like we just got Kalia Davis, which he's like another guy that hasn't been healthy or something. Like he's got quickness. Then you look at Robert Beal Jr. and Drake Jackson. Those are guys who are young that need to get opportunities. So maybe we want to see what these guys can do. And then going into undrafted free agent, which will go later. Speaking of a defensive tackle, I think you're going to like this kid later. But speaking of the offensive lineman, John Jay was bringing this into a conversation in the comments section. But this one was an interesting pick. I didn't have him on none of my draft boards. I didn't even think of this guy at all. But he's been moving up radars a little bit. So one thing about Jared Kingston is he hasn't allowed a single sack in his entire career. He's been very versatile. He's been a dependable guy that can be plugged in. Like he's a plug-in kind of offensive lineman. Like if you want him at center, you can plug him in. If you want him at guard, you can plug him in. Hell, if you want to put him at tackle, you can plug that dude right in. He'll do the job.
Yeah,
he's that kind of
versatility
guy.
For sure.
Yeah, like he may not look like a big dude on how he's built, but he's quick enough and he's strong enough to do the job. So I think this was like the most underrated pick. Like I didn't even think this guy was considered on the draft board. I thought he would have been undrafted or something.
Yeah. I like what I see on tape. He certainly wasn't on my radar, and I scouted quite a few offensive linemen. I didn't even see his name pop up one time on Twitter by any analyst or anything, which is the fun of the draft, right? The Minnesota Vikings with their last pick took an NAIA player at Texas A&M Commerce. Like nobody even put a thought to that, I'm sure, right? But it speaks to for why the draft is exciting, because you're going to discover too. Nobody is capable of scouting every single player beforehand undrafted unless it's pure luck, right? Yeah. Based on the film, he can move well, not nasty to his game. He's got his versatility. It's clear that the Niners want guys they can play anywhere, which I honestly, like, I understand that because with offensive line, right, health is never a guarantee, and you don't know who you're going to lose at what time. So having guys like Pooney and Kingston that you can plug and play anywhere on the offensive line at any time is a luxury, and can be a lifesaver during the season. If you got 2-3 weeks without one of your top guys on the line. I thought the disappointment for the 49ers of the entire draft, which I wouldn't say it's their fault because this is just such a raw luck of the draw, and just how it goes sometimes, is Roger Rosengarten getting picked by the Ravens 1 pick before the Niners. We're talking about an easy A-grade draft. If the Niners get Pearsall and Rosengarten 1
that would have been a huge grade, yeah.
That would have been everything. It really would have. And they probably still could have gotten Renardo Green at corner as well, right? So
we would have got DJ Tampa also, but
yeah, I mean, yeah, you could have got, the possibilities are endless, right? But that was my lowest of the low at the draft. I thought, because I was watching all the second round and I'm going, he's still there. Picks were going by. Rosengarten's still there. Oh my goodness, we're going to get Rosengarten. Holy smokes, this is huge. And when the Ravens picked him, that is as mad as I've been since the Super Bowl. I was mad. Like I
was like, damn it.
I was like, bro, like, are you kidding me? First the Ravens, the Chiefs, one up us and trade up and get all these dudes, and now they're one upping us, and now the Ravens 1 pick before we're about to pick Roger Rosengarten,
and they get Keith Mattel, and then the Chiefs do that by taking our spot, which I didn't understand that part. Like, come on.
I was like, this is not cool. Like, I'm not having fun, right? I love our draft picks, don't get me wrong, but I wanted Rosengarten bad. I think he would have greatly upgraded the pass protection of the Niners. Maybe not right away, but certainly with a good camp and then maybe some reps during the season here and there, contribute in certain ways. The problem was, CG, if you're going outside the first round, you're not going to get a tackle that comes in and is an elite pass protector right away. I think Jordan Morgan could have been that guy, right? If you pick him in the first round. I think there's a lot of good players. There's a lot of good players out there, man. And I'm looking at a lot of drafts, especially within the division. There was good drafts. Looking at, because I looked at the Seahawks draft, I liked what they did there. I like the Cardinals. I mean, if they can't put it together with this talent, forget it. I mean, they ain't never going to put it together, because you got Marvin Harrison Jr., you've got Kyler Murray, you've got Connor, you've got, every, talented weapon that you could. They got Tip Ryman, right? Who I was not very high on at first, but in the limited reps I did get to see of him, I was impressed. A great blocking tight end.
That's
right?
What we needed.
And I believe they did get a running back as well. Did they not?
Oh yeah, Trey Benson, the best running back.
Yeah, the best running. They did get. I mean, they had the best offensive skill. I mean, easily the best offensive skill player draft. I mean, the only team that comes close is definitely the Chicago Bears, because they got Odunze and Williams. But that's just a product of where they're picking, right? They got the first overall pick and the 9th overall pick or 13th overall pick or something like that. You're going to get great players there. So our draft is not as flashy by any means.
People, yeah. It wasn't as flashy. It was more like we were getting guys that could be redshirt or something, or maybe contribute in some ways. But you look at the other guys who did well in the draft. I hate to say this, but I think the Rams and the Eagles did pretty well in the draft, because I saw what they drafted. Philadelphia had some weakness in the secondary. They killed it in 2 rounds, rounds. They got Mitchell and they got Cooper DeJean, and everybody was talking about their linebackers. Well, they got
our guy Trotter.
Yeah. They got the gene, yeah. They got the Axeman 2.0, because that's his son. So I guess they get but you look at the Rams. I got to admit, they did draft it pretty well. They got 2 Florida State defensive players in the first 2 rounds. They got an edge rusher, Verse, which I think he would have been drafted a little earlier. They got Braden Fisk, was one of my favorite players, and then
they got better there.
Bo Limmer. They got the center Bo Limmer. Are you serious?
Yeah.
But as much as I can't stand the Raiders, man, they got Brock Bowers and Jackson Power Johnson, man. Come on.
That was they started off white hot on that in the draft for sure.
And fix that line.
But they announced JPJ as a guard.
What?
That was a head scratcher of all head scratchers. Like, I do not see this guy as a guard. I'm sorry, I don't. I see him as a center through and through. I certainly don't see him as a tackle by any means, but I guess he could play guard, but I feel like his true calling is at center. I think my highest rated center in the draft, but not a deep draft at center.
I think they like what they got at their center, but maybe for the future they're going to replace that guy. So,
yeah,
because they want to give. I think his versatility is what gets him that opportunity. They do get 2 tight end sets. They got Brock Bowers, who was the best damn tight end in football. In the draft.
Yeah. All they need is a quarterback now.
Yeah, and Michael Mayers. I mean, come on. The quarterback is Gardner Minshew, or should I say White Goodman is the quarterback?
Yeah. Minshew will be able to do something with all that. Like he did. He almost made the playoffs last year with the Colts, right? I mean, ideally, the Raiders get like a top 10 pick next year, and then they go get their quarterback. My
7 or 8 wins. That's their ceiling.
Yeah.
So I don't see it. I don't see it with Minshew at quarterback. If they had somebody else, I could see it, but nah.
My vision for the Raiders was you throw the kitchen sink at the Bears for the first overall pick, but I don't think that you could have. I have a feeling you could have offered the Bears 10 first round picks, and they wouldn't have given up Caleb Williams, and nor should they. Caleb Williams is that dude. I don't see. I can see him being a little too improv, because he's not quite as big as what makes Josh Allen and Mahomes so good is they're almost like athletic, like they've got a little Big Ben to their game in that they're hard to bring down, right? Like they and Caleb Williams, he's not small, but he's also not like built like Josh Allen. Like Josh Allen is
like those guys. Yeah,
he's a tank. Right? He's an absolute tank. So I can see, other than that though, like I think the reason why he was a little too improv-y last year and maybe a little too much improvisation is because the defense was giving up 50 points. I mean, that was the worst defense maybe in college football last year for USC. They were giving up 50 points a game. And if he didn't hit a home run on every single drive, I think he felt that pressure. And he was trying to make it. Hey, he did not want to throw away the ball. He did not want to, he was trying to force the issue because he knew his defense was not going to
do nothing. Yeah, it wasn't going to help. But I think the Bears got themselves something on defense. But the last pick, 251.
Yeah, there we go, linebacker.
Yeah,
I love this.
Curtis Jacobs, but I guess we didn't get him.
It's Dre Greenlaw 2.0, man. What do we say before the draft? The Niners know how to find quality linebackers in the later rounds or undrafted free agent. Like, and that's what it takes to be a successful football team in this league. If you're reliant on first, second, and third round picks to contribute for your team, right? Like, and those are the only guys you think out of the whole draft that could contribute for you. Like, you're going to have it's going to be tough sledding. You need to find those gems later in the draft who can contribute for your team and contribute to winning. And they're not going to be the guys that get the credit at the end of the day. But when you look at the whole scope of what it means to have a winning football team, you got to have ballers at every position. So as we found out with Brock Purdy, you never know what you can find later in the draft. And this dude brings it all. He brings the nasty. He's an absolute animal, dog, whatever you want to call, whatever superlative you want to call it. This dude will hit you in the teeth, hit you in the mouth.
Yeah, that play on Jaden Daniels kind of shows.
Yeah, that play on Jaden Daniels gets you real fired up, right? but he plays a physical brand of ball. I think he wasn't drafted higher than that because he runs a 4.7 540, and typically at the NFL level, you want your linebackers to run under a 4.7.
And he's a little bit undersized, I guess, from the measurables.
Yeah, but who cares? Like,
he was the leading tackler at Florida State too. He was he led the team in tackles. I don't understand that part. He could have moved up a little more on his draft boards, but
yeah, I just like the frustrating thing for me when I look at linebackers across the league and the prototypes, like so very clearly, and we find this at Laney College too. You want the Fred Warners of the world. You want the Roquan Smiths of the world. You want the Patrick Queens of the world that are elite. I mean, at one point, people were saying Roquan was too small. That's an absolute lie, right? He can absolutely play the game. But that's the best type of linebacker out there, CG. I will live and die on that hill. And anybody wants
I want a linebacker with that physicality.
Like nothing against Leighton Vander Esch, but that type of linebacker, there will never will be drafting a guy like with a bigger, he's more of a plugger type guy, a little bit on the slower side. I
think Peyton Hillis is that perfect example of a Leighton Vander Esch, the way I look at it.
Yeah. I mean, he's faster than Leighton for sure. But the guy that the Cowboys drafted from Notre Dame is totally that guy, right? He's just like another.
That's why they're going to be soft. That's the problem. They need to go.
Yeah, like I don't understand how teams aren't doing that.
They need to do what the Niners do. Get on the playbook of the Niners, man. We go after some physical dogs.
How isn't everybody copying our playbook and the Ravens playbook? It's not like it's only us who are doing. Titans got Alshire, right? So I don't. Well, I do understand.
I think the Rams are trying to keep up with it. I think they're trying to find some guys like us.
Yeah, I do understand. It mostly I think the real reason is there's a lot of longtime DCs out there have been doing it one way for a while, and they value certain things in a linebacker that are a little bit more old school and have become a little antiquated, in my opinion. But listen, they're making the money. I'm not. They're getting paid to do being a DC.
Yeah, they're giving us the talents.
So, yeah, let's hope they don't change their ways.
Oh yeah. So yeah. So that was a good value pick. We got somebody who can be a contributor on special teams and all that stuff. But since we didn't address the defensive line and all that stuff, but undrafted becomes pretty interesting. There's a couple of guys that caught my attention. Evan Anderson from Florida Atlantic, 6'3", 326 pounds.
Yeah.
I think we might have found that guy who can maybe make the roster and be on the rotation, maybe develop kind of like how Kevin Givens was.
Yeah, I hope so. And I've sent, we've sent guys to Florida Atlantic University and had success there. And I love that institution. Watching this guy's tape, the initial reaction, I'm not incredibly excited because he does not move well. And if you don't move well, that's fine at D-line, but you better be a technician, right? Now, that's just in the limited tape that I saw. So clearly the Niners will watch more film than I have. So clearly he's shown that he has the ability to, stop the run, maybe develop as a pass rusher and whatnot. He's an undrafted free agent, so we have to keep things realistic. So I don't have lofty expectations of him. I don't expect him to make the roster.
Maybe on the practice squad,
but maybe on the practice squad. So hopefully, yeah. I mean, practice squad guys have produced for the Niners before. Yeah. So it's not
when it's necessary when injuries come to play or something like that. But Terrell Owens' son, Tariq Owens, is a free agent. Interesting kind of pickup. I mean, the receivers is pretty jammed, so we'll see.
Yeah, seems like a camp body. I mean, he had solid college highlights, nothing that swept me off my feet by any means. I mean, if he was that dude, right? Like if he was that good, listen, being the son of Terrell Owens, every college scout and recruiter is going to give you the shot to be that dude, a D1 guy. but I believe he went to Morgan State.
No, Missouri State.
Yeah, Missouri State. So we're talking about a 1AA here. Competition level, not very good compared to, it's not the same. Well, I mean, listen, there's some great players that go 1AA and are good, and I'm sure many of them gone to the NFL and whatnot. But just being realistic, right? Like, there's a reason he is a 1AA player. Now, that's besides the point. There's a reason, like how many guys in the draft started 1AA or NAIA or something like that, and then they entered the portal and went bigger, right, to bigger schools. Quite a few. So I'm wondering why that didn't happen for him. So
he was a transfer from Florida Atlantic also.
Oh, I didn't know that actually. So he transferred. That is I believe a higher level of football.
Maybe he wasn't getting playing time over there, so maybe that's what it was.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I've had plenty of players enter the portal, so I know it's going to be for so many reasons. I hope he makes it. Like, I hope he does well, and I hope he shows something in the preseason. But that wide receiver room is sardines in a can right now. Like, it is so.
It's going to be too damn jammed to the point where we might just have to choose only one out of those guys.
Preseason's going to be fun though.
Yeah, Mason Plime is a kid I interviewed, and he came as an undrafted free agent. He's got basketball background. He played college.
Love that.
Furman, big guy. What is it, 6'7", 260 pounds or something?
Yeah, he's a big dude. So hopefully he can be like develop in the passing game. Interested to see how he blocks. Right?
Yeah, see that?
To see if he's a mauler in the run game. If he can do that, he can certainly challenge Latu for his position, right, on the roster. Yeah. So we'll see. We're definitely in an interesting spot in terms of, tight end number 2 with
Braden.
Ross Dwelley left, right?
Ross Dwelley's still a free agent, so that's the crazy part. We just signed a guy from the Broncos.
Right.
Subert or something. I don't know how you say his name, but
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I guess we got Drake Nugent from from Michigan, a center.
This is the A-lister of the UDFAs. This is the highlight for sure. Like, not even close. He's a center on a national championship team. Nick Saban said it. I quoted it earlier. The best, most well-coached offensive line in football was the University of Michigan. There's a reason they were dominant, man. Like, and you look at it's not like they had freaking Eddie George back there or Reggie Bush, right? Like, Corum's good, but like, he wasn't a first-round pick, right? So there had to be a reason they were good somehow. And I think the reason they were good is because they had well-coached offensive linemen who knew their job every single play, executed every single play, opened up holes every single play. Because, McCarthy didn't throw that many times either. So really, really good pickup as an undrafted free agent. I'd like to see him challenge for a spot on the roster, or at least keep him on the practice squad.
Yeah, we can see what happens from here. But as far as the grade in general, as far as the draft, I got to say B- because we could have done a little bit better. But I do like the rest of the picks. I think the day 3 picks were the more better picks, to be honest, because the first round pick to me was more of a head scratcher. I got to see how this kid plays. I just wasn't like feeling Ronaldo was a good pick, but I just think the Pearsall just really killed the pick for me because I thought he could have been a better value in the later part, but. The Guerendo pick I think it might be the better pick out of all of them because I think there's something there. The Jacob Cowan to me kind of killed the pick because why do we even get another receiver?
Yeah, it's very interesting. For me, man, I'm giving it a grade of a B. I'll go B+. I'll put my stuff on the line and say B+ because I like every single one of these players. Their film, I love their film collectively. I can see them, each and every single one of them, contributing in some way to this team, and they address so many different needs, right, with this draft. We'll have to wait and see, right? Like, we'll have to wait and see how it all shapes up, as always. I could also see this being a draft where not many guys contribute, this year of
That's
the
what I'm
lot,
concerned about. We need some guys to
right?
contribute. You figure maybe
Yeah,
those are the
yeah,
guys.
the high impact right away, no doubt kind of
It's a
guys.
B
But
minus for me right now
it's
because of
there's a lot of sneaky good talent here in this draft. I think it could be a sneaky good draft that
yeah.
uh
When I look at Ricky
ends
Pearson,
up
I don't
being
see
good in
him.
the
I
long
don't.
run.
When I see Ricky Pearson, I don't think of him as a contributor right away. So that's why I gave it like a
Probably
low.
not. I mean,
No,
hard to see it.
Ronaldo Green, maybe I could see him as a contributor because that opposite award's an open spot, so he might surprise people. Dominic Puny's probably going to have to compete pretty harder, but I think there's a chance he could definitely push out one of the starters for the job, maybe.
Yeah.
Malik Mustafa, depending on who Fungus health, I can see him contribute pretty well. Isaac Arendo, I think it's more like a learning curve for this guy, but I think he'll see the field pretty soon. Maybe he might return kicks because he does have experience returning kicks also, so that might be another factor. I think his value would be like just learning for a little bit, and I think he'll push himself into the lineup. Maybe late in the season, you're going to see this kid come into the scene. Jacob Cowan, I don't know. It's kind of like I don't know what role this guy's going to get. Is he going to return kicks? Is he going to be a slot receiver? How are we going to use him? Are we going to just have him like Danny Gray on the bench? That's why I'm kind of like head scratching that one. Jared Kingston, is this guy going to even make the roster? That's where I'm kind of like, I like his versatility, but can he make the team? Tatum Bethune, he's going to have to stand out going into training camp for me to say he would make the roster. But I like the pick, but that's why it's B minus for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I could see all that panning out for sure in the way you said.
Yeah. But I think we pretty much covered everything. We'll get more into it next week if we got some extra time in. But for everybody else, thank you guys for tuning in, and let's give a like I guess we'll just call it a day. But for everybody else, have a great day, and we'll see y'all next week.
See you, boys.